And before it was even a thing, I was very much decentering men. I think I even took it to the extreme. Hola, ciao, j'espère que vous allez tous bien. My name is Kirmai and welcome back to my digital safe space where we talk all things faith, self-love, self-improvement, and beauty. Today's topic is on the juicier side. It's all about relationships and singlehood and navigating my singleness in my 20s, how I feel about it, how I got to this point, and essentially how to be strategic when it comes to dating when I do end up going into it. I feel like there are a lot of people who are in a similar position as I am in, and that is a position of never having been in a relationship. I've been seeing an increasing amount of videos regarding this topic, and I just wanted to chime in and talk a little bit about how I've been choosing to nurture myself and how I've been navigating singlehood by choice. I think when so many people think about singlehood, and especially as it pertains to women dealing with it, they feel a sense of pity almost, but in reality I feel like a lot more women are choosing singlehood. That's been my reality for the past 5 years. I have not dated at all. I don't need to, I don't want to, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I would say that my experience when it comes to dating men have been revelatory and they've been eye-opening. I'm not one to stick around for nonsense long enough to the point where my mental health deteriorates, to the point where I question my sense of self-worth, and I feel like a lot of the games being played have put me off to the entire idea of dating and interacting with men. I've always been the only single one in the group. Like, all of my friends have always been booed up. I've always been either a third wheel or the plus one or just kind of like the odd one out, and I feel like the reason I've been so secure with that is just because I've always felt like the odd one out. I always felt like there was something about me that set me apart, and I never truly felt like I was a part of a group. And I think that also has to do with my hyper independence, not feeling like I should or have to wait on anybody to do anything, because even if I am a part of that thing, I might not always be accepted. My hyper independence has always come from a place of survival. It's not because I've always thought of myself as being this independent boss babe girl who doesn't need anybody's help, who can do everything on their own. No, it has been a survival mechanism. And I think that when it comes to dating, I've been very quick to cut off when it comes to nonsense from when I was like a teenager. So I was really dating between the ages of 19 to 21. And you can say that this is a short period, like a very short time frame to sign off on dating entirely. But when you see the games that are being played and the psychological warfare and the enmity between men and women, you quickly realize that it's simply not worth your time unless the other person is mature and grown, emotionally aware and intelligent, which is a term that's thrown around all the time, but it really is a rarity. And so when I realized that it really was a battlefield out here, I just didn't want to do it. And I wasn't into the casualness of it all. I was not going to entertain or get into the kind of mess people like to get into, just because I don't want to get my emotions tied in. I don't want to be spiritually bound to a person that means me no well. And all in all, just the games have been absolutely off-putting, to say the least. The number one reason why I've never been in a relationship would of course be because I simply have not wanted it bad enough. Relationships are actually quite easy to get into, and it's not because of looks, it's not because of personality, it's not because of, name it. There are plenty of people who are drop dead gorgeous who've never been in a relationship. There are plenty of people who you might not deem as being the most attractive, but they find themselves in relationships long-term at that and healthy. There are people who don't have the greatest personalities, who are toxic, who are immature, and they're still in relationships. I really think that it has to do with your circumstances and your willingness and your desire to be with a person. I personally have never felt it necessary to be tied to a person. I actually kind of feared that, and that's because I have dealt with avoidance in my life. I've been very much avoidant, and this is something that I'm actively working against because it's not a healthy way to go about relationships. And until I'm at a place where I'm secure and I can actually see myself being a healthy partner and not shutting down immediately after a conflict, I'm simply just not going to engage in conversation, because I believe that my partner deserves the best. And as I'm actively working towards being the best partner that I can be, I'm just going to be single. When it comes to my values, my morals, I think that there are a lot of people who could definitely mesh well with me and I can mesh well with them. But at the end of the day, I just don't feel ready to be in a relationship, and I haven't. The person that I end up being with is going to be somebody that I'm extremely serious about, and God willing, this is the person that I'm going to marry. I do not want to tie myself unnecessarily to people who don't mean me well or who simply want me for things that I'm not willing to give out unless we're wed. And it's as simple as that. I've never been into hookup culture or the casualness of very intimate interactions. It's something that to me, I wouldn't be able to withstand. I wouldn't be able to do, because it's just so personal, and to open myself up is already something that is incredibly scary and daunting at times. And so to do that for somebody who would only leave after I give them what they want, because that's just the name of the game, and once they get what they've been praying for, they're satisfied. No, I don't want to deal with that. The next reason why I've never been in a relationship is simply because it's just not worth it. The mind games and the psychological warfare are simply not worth my youth, my beauty, my intelligence, my self-esteem, my self-worth. Just keep it. There's no shortage of men. They're very much everywhere. And with that being said, I genuinely believe that it's important for me to be a whole person. It's important for me to live my life and to continue to build foundationally on my own so I can be the most healthy partner that I can be. And then when the person comes around, the person who's meant to be in my life, the person that God sends me, once that person comes around, then for sure we can be whole together. But the other person isn't meant to complete me. And I think that a lot of people get into relationships because they feel like they have a missing piece or there's something that's lacking in their lives. And though I can sympathize with that, I can definitely understand that. I feel like for me, it's been very important to be my own person and to be able to tell myself that I've lived a full life and that I've done great things without being out there, without being reckless, without being immature. Sure, I've made my mistakes and I've fallen and I've stumbled. It's very important though for me to be able to live a life before I meet a partner, because it's been very enlightening for me to discover myself during this period of singleness. It is so beautiful to be able to dedicate myself to reading scripture, getting closer and closer with my girlfriends, and kind of learning men in a way that I haven't learned them before. I've seen how men can act and I want to have a different perception of men, and I've been able to develop that different perception by being exposed to men and being surrounded by gentlemen who are genuinely trying their best to be great partners for their soon-to-be wives or their already wives. Being in a church and seeing men genuinely like working and being great people day in and day out, and though again they stumble, they're only human, it's just been revelatory for me. The best way to change your perception of the opposite sex is by removing yourself from social media and removing yourself from the content, whether it be the sprinkle, whether it be the red pill, whether it be all of that nonsense. It's just toxic and it's genuinely so destructive. It is meant to continue the war between men and women, and I just don't want to continuously feed this cognitive bias that I have against that group, because at the end of the day, it's so easy to demonize a group that's different from your own because you don't understand them. I don't understand men. Men don't understand women majority of the time, and the times that they do understand us, it's to inflict psychological pain or manipulation of some sort, and I'm just not here for it. So a lot of the times I just find that men have had a preconceived notion of who I am, and I simply don't stand for it because I don't want to be an object of your desire. I don't want to be a trophy. I'm a full functioning human being, and I've realized quickly on that until a person can treat me like a human being and understand that I'm flawed, and that sure, they can have an idea of who I am, but I'm not something that you put on a shelf. I'm opinionated, I'm strong, I'm sensitive, I'm kind, I'm funny, I'm all of these things. And a lot of the interactions that I've noticed early on in my 20s when I was just observing the landscape, I realized that men don't really care about any of that. When they're in a place where all they want to do is satisfy their carnal pleasures and satisfy their flesh, if all they want to do is pursue you, the moment you cave in, there's nothing to pursue. And so I am willing to play the long game. And before it was even a thing, I was very much decentering men. And I think I even took it to the extreme. I spent all of 2022, I spoke to absolutely no men. Like I had no guy friends. And this is coming from somebody who grew up with guys. Fortunately or unfortunately, honey, there comes a time where, yeah, sure, the relationships and the friendships that you build are genuine, but I don't actually believe that men and women can be friends, simply because at some point, somewhere along the line, someone gains feelings, whether it be whatever, you name it. I've gone through it all. There have been opportunities to actually be in that situation where I'm in a relationship, but it just never felt right. I definitely believe that there's a reason outside of myself as to why I haven't been in a relationship. I think that there's so much more to life than relationships and romantic love. I think that it's an incredibly important part of society. It's our driver. I feel like we all in our heart of hearts have this hopeless romantic aspect of ourselves that we'd love to tap in if you haven't already. We don't want to be cheated on. We don't want to be betrayed. We want to be vulnerable and open and honest, and we want to be loved and cherished, and you know, we all want these things. And I'm not saying that I don't, but I'm just saying that in my singlehood and my single season, what I aspire for is a life of peace and genuine tranquility. I want to be able to be the kind of woman that I would date, which I am already, but I think that there's a lot more that I can work on. And I think that if you're aware of certain toxic tendencies that you have or that you possess, I think that now is definitely the time to be able to dismantle those things and get rid of the toxic traits that you have, heal and forgive your past, forgive the people who hurt you, forgive the people who did you wrong. Don't carry those burdens and, you know, bring that baggage in a new relationship. There are so many more things that are worthwhile and worth nurturing and watering now, regardless of looks, regardless of accolades and accomplishments. There's just so much more to life, so many more things that I'd like to see. There's a level of freedom that I cherish from the bottom of my heart that I don't know that I would receive or experience in a relationship, and that alone puts fear in me a little bit. And I feel like the word commitment, or the words commitment issues, they're so much heavier than what I'd like for them to be in this context. But I genuinely just feel like I'd be suffocated and stifled, and I don't want to feel like I'm restricted and like I'm bound in a relationship. And that's part of the reason why I've just not felt the need to commit myself to a person, because it is work. And I see that the people around me have definitely devoted themselves, and they've made sacrifices, and they've fully dedicated themselves to their partners, which is, I think, so beautiful. But I think that it's also very scary. And so for me, though I haven't really met anybody who's in my mind someone that I'd be willing to share my life with and make sacrifices for, when I do meet that person, I will be ready. But in the meantime, therapy is definitely the way to go. And if you feel like it's almost the end of the world, like you're 21, you've never been in a relationship, I totally understand that, and I can sympathize with it, because I myself was feeling that. I definitely feel, that sense of loneliness at times, wondering if there's anything wrong with you, wondering if there's something missing, like how is everybody in a relationship? I've been okay with being single simply because I've reframed my mindset. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. I think I'm whole as I am, and I know that there are problems and issues that I want to deal with first and tackle before I accept somebody into my life. I don't want to carry unnecessary baggage, though I do believe that I will inevitably, but I don't want to be toxic, and I want to be as healthy and as whole as I can be. I reframe my way of thinking simply by telling myself that singleness is not a curse, and that I genuinely enjoy this time. And I've had so many married women, so many friends in relationships tell me about the importance of living it up, like genuinely being single, not being reckless, not being wayward, not being out here. Leave these men alone. It's just trouble when you are out here. Like the city girl, hot girl stuff, I'm sorry, it's a path that leads to destruction. And you might think that you're having fun, that you're living it up, but you will have to explain for your waywardness at some point, and it does catch up with you. And I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to explain my crazy phase, if I ever had one. It's just something that I'd rather not do. What I do now, I want to be able to look back and thank myself for being disciplined, for being assertive and responsible and intelligent with my choices. I grant myself the opportunity to make mistakes. If you want to date, then go ahead and date, but also set boundaries and know exactly what you want. At the end of the day, it's not going to heal you. Being in a relationship will not heal you. And if you're a woman, the statistics actually say otherwise. So hopefully you find somebody who's decent, but it's not the end of the world. Invest in a life that you'd be genuinely proud of, even if there's nobody else to share it with. And I think that's why I strive to do just cool things, because I want to be able to look back and know that I had a great life. When I end up in a relationship, I want to be able to say that it wasn't because I ended up in a relationship that I did cool things. I want to live a great life now, not wait until I have somebody to share great memories with. I'll make memories with people that I have in my life right now, but I'll also make great memories with myself and do it solo and genuinely love myself and learn to embrace myself. And I guess it's hard for some people who don't have the greatest relationship with themselves, but that's exactly the point that I'm getting at. You can't expect for somebody else to complete you, somebody who's flawed to complete you, when they don't know you as well as you know yourself. They don't know the ins and outs of you, and that's not their job. It's also an incredibly unfair responsibility that you're putting on somebody else. And oftentimes people pedestalize relationships and romance in general, and it's just not as glorious as it might seem. I believe that there's so much beauty in companionship and in relationship, but I think that it's been so deified and idolized to the point where it's sickly. And appreciate what's beautiful for other people and appreciate the positives of relationship for other people. Take what resonates, take the things that you would like to embody and experience in your relationship. But I don't think that you should see singleness as a curse, because there's so many people who are currently in relationships who are living miserable lives and who are unhappy because they would have been better off on their own and navigating life by themselves and not burdened by another person being with them but being a drag. And spiritual ties are very real. Limerence, I will definitely make a video on it because I've dealt with it, maladaptive daydreaming, the whole nine. So just because I've never been in a relationship, just because I've embraced singlehood, doesn't mean that I haven't dealt with certain things. Trust me, I've gone through it all. And that's the exact reason why I completely decentered men, because it was consuming me. It was gnawing at me, and it got to the point where it just wasn't worth it. Deadlines can be so detrimental to your well-being because your timeline is useless. And I spoke about this in my previous video, but your idea of what needs to happen within a specific time frame is so laughable to God. So I think that the approach that you should be having is that you are expectant that something good is going to happen, that you're going to meet the right person, but don't wait there. Navigate life and be satisfied with where you're at, And it's okay to desire a relationship, especially when you see other people around you getting the things that you yourself desire. But just tell yourself that if everybody else is having it, it's only a matter of time before I have the thing that I desire. And you'll also be able to look at other people and see what you would actually tolerate in a relationship and what you wouldn't tolerate. The last thing that I would say is to be careful of what you feed your mind. Be careful of the things that you consume and that you ingest, whether it be toxic content, trying to make your singlehood easier, whether you're watching a ton of videos about women talking about how miserable they are in relationships or men talking about how miserable they are in relationships. Why are you consuming this negative content just to make yourself feel better about being single? It's going to feed in the negative perceptions that you have. If you're telling yourself that all men are trash and that all men are cheaters, but you're yearning for a relationship, are you yearning for a cheater? Because that's what you're going to attract. You're telling yourself that they're all the same way, and so you're inevitably going to settle for the worst of the worst. It's just an incredibly dangerous game, and I think that it's a lot better when you reframe your mindset and you tell yourself that this is not even a season, but this is your era. Let it be your single era and have fun with it. Enjoy it, embrace it, don't be ashamed of it. Easier said than done, but the more you practice self-love and self-nurturing, the more you discover the things that you like and that you don't like, the easier it'll be for you to be able to accept the fact that this is your reality, but not make it your entire brand. Your life is not dependent on another person. The couple goals and all these cute little couples that you see on social media, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, they look great, they sound great, but are they great? You're not with them, you don't know. They're propping up their phone, laying in bed, cuddling. Be honest with yourself and realize that you are ingesting harmful content that is detrimental to your mental well-being, because at the end of the day, it's great to see a nice proposal, it's great to see another wedding, it's great to see another girlfriend proposal or what have you, but if it's causing you to feel low about your current situation, you need to know when to step away from the phone and turn off the app. Reconfigure your timeline, reconfigure your newsfeed, fix up your homepage and the algorithm, because simply put, it's not worth it. You can want a thing without being desperate for it. The moment you despair is when you relinquish your power, and that is when things go awry. Trust me, you gain the power when you acknowledge that things are maybe not the way that you want them to be, but that you can change it, and you can first change it by changing your perception, your perspective, and changing your outlook on life. Continue being cool, continue being consistent and dependable and reliable and competent. Keep being you and doing the things that you need to do. And when you're ready, genuinely ready, and not just on the surface, but when you're healthy, that is when things are going to happen. And it might not be on your timeline, but God's timing is always right. So if you don't have everything that you want in life, I think that it's very important that you build yourself before you try to share your life with somebody else. Nobody wants to be with somebody who doesn't have a lot going for themselves. So if you don't have a hobby, if you don't have a job, if you don't have friends, if you don't have a relationship with yourself, good relationship with your family, I highly recommend that you get onto doing that now. Get into your word, get closer to God, and do as much as you can now while you have as much time as you have, because once you have to share your time with someone, it's genuinely going to be much more difficult for you to be careful with the time that you spend and be more mindful of how much time you have. Time is flying, and I do want to prepare myself for later on. So this is my season of preparation, but in the meantime, I'm not going to wallow in my circumstance and think to myself, I can't wait until I'm 30 and I'm in a relationship and I have this, that, and the third. No, I'm going to bask in being 25, because I'm only 25 once. This is the youngest I'll ever be, and so I'm grateful. So if this is your first time on YouTube and you enjoyed this video, then you know what to do. I pray that you be blessed single and that you take care of yourself. On se verra à la prochaine. Bye.